Hey, it's Darren Lee, Leonard Williams.
This is Justin Burris.
Jason McDougal here.
Doug Middleton. Darren Roberts.
So you're watching NYJFTV.
You're watching NYJFTV. So you're watching NYJFTV.
You're watching NYJFTV.
Go Jets.
Go Jets. Hey, it's Darren Lee, Leonard Williams.
This is Justin Burris.
The best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
Looks like we got some technical difficulties going on.
Wonderful.
Always a good show to start with that. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of NYJFTV. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin Sirkin, back with the crew, Fireman Ed. Rob Carpenter is going to be joining us in just a minute after a tough 31-19 Jets loss to the Saints. The loss is now their 7th in 9 games and officially eliminates them from postseason contention. And unfortunately, this was another game that was just like all too many that just make you shake your head and wonder, what if? You give them a lot of credit for going toe-to-toe against a much better team. The defense absolutely played their hearts out, but the offense just left way too many opportunities on the table. And so at this point, the big question on everybody's mind is whether or not it still makes sense to leave Petty out there. And the number one reason I continue to hear to either leave Hackenberg on the bench or to keep playing Petty is that Hackenberg isn't ready. All right, fine. But I'll continue to ask, what in the hell has Bryce Petty shown that shows that he's ready? A lot of people want to see him get a chance to work through this. I'm not one of those. For a 4th-round pick, I think he's had plenty of opportunities to at least show you a little something, and I just don't see it yet. He's too inconsistent. He's too inaccurate. You name it, he's got to work on it. So, Ed, what do you think? Are you okay with letting Petty finish out the season, or are these reps better used on Hackenberg?
You know, it's funny. The bottom line is, oh man, what's with this voices? I'm getting echoing.
Really?
You know, Hackenberg and Petty, they both said the same thing. I mean, Todd Bowles said, listen, they're not going to play. The only reason these guys are playing is because McCown got hurt. So I think they've seen so much of this kid. You know, I would let him play the last 2 games because I do believe Hackenberg is going to be in there, you know, next year in the preseason, and you'll get an idea of what he's about, another year under the belt. But as far as I'm concerned,
Hey, it's Darren Lee, Leonard Williams.
This is Justin Burris.
Jason McDougal here.
Doug.
All right, we're back live. So continuing with the quarterback discussion, you know, Ed, you were discussing Bryce Petty, how he locks on to certain guys. And I think even going beyond that, just failing to display like the basic fundamentals with his footwork, moving around the pocket. Footwork is awful. I mean, his balance, moving around the pocket, hitting open receivers, hitting guys in stride, all of these things that you need to be able to do in a West Coast offense. I just don't think he's ever going to be able to get it. And you kind of mentioned before the show, these 2 games are probably his audition long-term to still be here. But at the same time, Hackenberg is going to be here next year. I think regardless of whatever people say, Hackenberg is still going to be here. They're going to continue his development. And so with that being said, wouldn't these 2 games serve him much more value than Petty, who might not be here?
We don't know that. You know, we're not privy to practices and what's going on. Obviously, if Hackenberg was able to play, why wouldn't they play him? They don't think he's ready to play. And he's the long term. He's long term. That they've made that clear. He's a project. So they're going to wait until next year. They don't care what the masses say. They don't care what we say. The fans, and they shouldn't. They really shouldn't. The problem is the quarterback's not on the roster right now. The quarterback's not on the roster. I mean, this is the time. This is the time when we need to get our quarterback this offseason. We're finally, and I said this before, Kev, we're finally going into a year in an offseason where we're going to wind up with Mo Wilkes. We're going to have $100 million. We're going to have $100 million or very close to it. Okay. You're going to have all your draft choices. You have future draft choices. If you love a kid that much in this draft, you go get him. If it means giving your number one up next year, then you do that too. If you need to give 2 1s and 2 2s, then that's what you do. If you're committed, the first thing is, does the fan base believe in Maccagnan? That's number one. Do they believe in Maccagnan? And do they, which I do, I absolutely do. Am I sold on Bowles? No. But I do like John Morton and Jeremy Bates. I do like that direction. So, let's see what happens. I don't want to see them change coaches. I think if they're going to change coach, change it this year. Just get rid of them and come. If you're going to get one of these young quarterbacks, go get them and then get rid of the coaching staff and start from scratch. You go hand in hand. It's one or the other. You're going to find out a lot in the next couple of days. But Bryce Petty is obviously a work in progress. If he's that, I don't even know if he's that. His footwork should be much better for year 3. Come on. He's in, year 3. So, but it's your first year offense for him. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't see a lot that I liked yesterday, be honest with you.
No, me either. And that's why I'm ready to move on. But, going back to Bowles for a second, after the game, a few of the younger guys, they spoke up for him. Over the past few weeks, we've kind of gone back and forth where, a lot of people, they're ready to move on, whether it's citing his poor road record or some of the same in-game mistakes that he's made, which are all valid concerns. But you do have to give him some credit, I think, for overachieving in a rebuilding year and kind of changing the culture for the better. So assuming he is back next year, which I think is pretty likely, what is your level of confidence in him to close out some of these games that we've lost with the more talented roster?
Well, I think you hit it on the nose, Kev. I think the more talented roster. I don't think there's a lot of talent. They got rid of a bunch of veterans and quality players that were proven players in this league. So, we got young guys right now. I just think that Jet fans, it really amazes me. It's not all Jet fans. It's a certain amount, and a lot of it is people that are well known, that are talking. That are Jet fans. They just want to constantly turn over. They want to go now. This is year 3 for Bowles. All right, we'll get rid of him now. It's that simple to just keep getting rid of coaches. Getting rid of systems. I mean, it's ridiculous. They already got rid of Gailey. They got rid of Gailey. They got a new offense. Now you're going to go to another offense. So you're going to get rid of Bowles, and then you're going to go to another offense. I mean, Rob came in just at the right time, but perfect timing. I mean, he knows better than anybody. I mean, there's something to be said for fucking continuity. What about continuity? I mean, think about it. Look at Eli Manning and what he's gone through. All those years, he had the same coordinator. And you notice it's screwed up as – you're changing pieces, changing puzzles. It's not that simple, Rob.
You're right, Ed.
Here, Rob.
You got to have that continuity in there, man. Ed, you pretty much exactly right. You hit it right on the head. Trying to change these pieces around, man. It's just at this time of the season, it's a no-go. But what can you do at this point?
Rob, welcome back to the show. We've been waiting to talk to you for a very long time. I would love to get your take on what we've seen the past few weeks from this offense. Some people have been a little upset at John Morton for the lack of up-tempo offense. This week, some people thought that they were kind of babying Petty a little bit. What have you seen from Morton, and especially what have you seen from Petty? Because I'm ready to see Hackenberg. I don't think Petty's it. I don't think he's progressing. I think they need to make the change now. So what have you seen from both of them?
I'm kind of along the lines you are, Kev. Petty. I don't know if it's the play calling or it's just the way that he's actually reading some of the things that goes on with the defense. But for some reason, he's just not letting the ball go. And if he's not going to let the ball go, then you might as well put Hack in there and see what he can do. Because at this point in the season, there's really nothing to lose. So put the young boy in there and see what he can do. You drafted him in the second round to eventually see if he was going to be the successor as the QB. So, but it also kind of seems that Morton is a little conservative with Petty in there, but at the same time, when he does call the plays that actually where the ball should go downfield or Petty should let it loose, he doesn't. Everything is dink and dunk. His accuracy isn't as sharp as it should be. He throws passes that are basically like 10 yards down the field, behind receivers where they have to, kind of adjust on catches that they should be catching on the run. The inaccuracy was there, all game against the Saints. So it just wasn't that little, snippet that we saw when he actually took over for McCown where, and I know everybody saw it against the Broncos where Curse ran a little out and he was wide open and he threw the ball probably
by 10 yards.
Like 20 feet over his head. That was just, the quick snippet of him being inaccurate. But, it kind of showed out there yesterday. It's unfortunate because the defense played well enough for the Jets to actually get this victory. Petty just couldn't pull it out, man. But, at this point in the season, you might as well just let Hack play and see what he can do.
And one other thing I got to ask you, Rob, I'm not even going to ask Ed this because I know he doesn't want to talk about this guy anymore, and I'm exhausted even discussing non-football matters about him, but Mo Wilkerson. Rob, is there any way that you see him putting on that Jet uniform again?
At this point, I don't. I would be surprised if he played this week or the last few weeks of the season. And I'd be even more surprised if he's in the building after the new football year starts in March. So I think at this point they're pretty much looking to cut ties with Mo, even though from all reports that I saw that he was there today in the building and Bowles said that they were probably, well, not probably, but going to keep it as an internal matter. I just don't see him playing this week at home, last home game. And that was probably 2 weeks ago was probably his last game in a Jets uniform.
He can't get hurt. He gets hurt. He gets hurt. You're locked into that next salary. You can't.
Basically.
There's no way they can play him. He's done. It's over. So
you're right. Yeah, you're 100% right, Ed. So even to use him as an asset in the offseason, you can't put him out there to get him hurt, even though you don't want him. You can't cut ties with him obviously right at this point, but if they're going to use him as an asset for a trading piece or whatever. They got to keep him healthy. Got to keep him around till I believe March, first week in March. I think is when the new calendar year starts for the NFL. So
yeah,
like I said, that's a couple of weeks ago was probably the last game you saw of Mo in the Jets uniform.
Well, they certainly didn't miss him yesterday. It was fun watching that defense, especially after the slow start. It looked like initially it was going to be an absolute bloodbath. And then the next 6 drives after that, you get 3 and outs, I think 3 times, and then you had 3 turnovers. Just the way that they were playing, 11 guys attacking the ball. It's funny they were doing that without Mo in there. But my big question is, and they're going to open it up to some fan questions, how much better can this defense get if they are able to add a legitimate speed rusher in the offseason?
That would be really phenomenal if they could do that.
I feel like that's the last thing.
Yeah, and you see it if they actually had somebody who actually could consistently put pressure on the quarterback. You see that the back 7 guys could actually make a lot of plays, man. It's unfortunate, right at this moment that a lot of pressure couldn't come this year. But at the same time, what happened was you see the young guys in the secondary having to step their game up, and they did. So that's actually a really good sign. With Adams and May, hopefully those guys are able to stay healthy for a long time because that tandem back there, man, is going to be a phenomenal duo for the Jets for a long time. And if they just add that speed rusher, one or two, coming off the end, or another interior guy who could actually put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, man, this defense is going to be phenomenal.
Let me tell you something. For the first time in 2, 3, 4 years, all of a sudden now the defensive line is going to be the lesser of the team. We got less guys on. We got less personnel on a defensive line because if Leonard Williams gets hurt, what do you have? Where we had Mo Wilkerson, we had Snacks Harrison, we had Richardson. Now, all of a sudden, you're going into this offseason and you're going to revamp the defensive line. That's what you're going to do because you got one guy. You got one guy. There's no guarantee they're keeping McClendon. There's no guarantee they'll keep McClendon. Pennell's just a savvy veteran who causes personal fouls on a consistent basis. This is a whole new revamped defensive line. Yeah, you got linebackers, you got your defensive backs. It's crazy. Only the Jets could have a stockpile of players and now nothing.
I think, Ed, if they actually are going to do something with Mo, McClendon will be back because he's a run stopper, and everybody knows he's one of the best nose tackles in the game. So if you're going to get rid of Mo, you can't get rid of him because, like you said, Leonard Williams is the only guy left basically on that D line that's performing at a high level. I think if Mo goes, McClendon's probably safe, man. And I mean, that's a good thing because McClendon's one of the best run stoppers in the game, and it shows every week. So, he's not a pass rusher, but, if you can stop the run, you're giving your defense a pretty good chance, and he's one of the guys that can do that. So, I think if Mo goes, McClendon stays.
You're still going to have 2 or 3 guys. You're still going to need two or three more defensive linemen next year. Yeah. It's going to be half that line is going to be new guys.
Very true.
Half that line is going to be new.
Just like the offensive line, the defensive line will probably be addressed. Whether through free agency or the draft, I think they'll probably go heavy on those 2 spots this all season because it's obvious that it's needed, as well as the QB position. So minus the QB position, the offensive line, defensive line will probably be 2 spots that McCagnon goes heavy with free agency and the draft.
Rob, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kev.
No, I was about to open up for questions, but go ahead.
If this regime, particularly McCagnon and Bowles, if they want to be here for another contract, they better get their quarterback in this offseason. They better know who their quarterback is for the next 5 years. Can't get into a decade. We don't know that. They got to know who their quarterback is and who they're going with. It's not going to be McCowan. We need to know who the quarterback, whether it's a young kid or it's Kirk Cousins. I'm not in on Alex Smith. I'm out on Tyrod Taylor. I don't want any of those guys. So, I mean, you might think differently, but we need to know who the quarterback is. That's the first thing we need to know. Then build around them. Because until we know who the quarterback is, you ain't got a shot in hell in this league.
All season, ever since the very beginning of the season, the one quarterback that's in college that I've been pulling for is Baker Mayfield. And guys were, way down on him to start the season, and now all of a sudden he's probably one of the hottest commodities at QB you can name. So, especially in college. I'm with you on Alex Smith. I'm not really a Alex Smith guy as far as going forward because he's been in the league so long. He's not a guy that is going to give you 10 more years. He'll give you a couple more. Kirk Cousins, I could agree with you on. He's a guy I can see the Jets going after, and if they land him, that's QB for the future. For the time being. The only other guy I think in free agency that I could see being a guy here, and he's a new name, is Case Keenum. If the Minnesota Vikings decide to go back with Teddy Bridgewater, he got in the game this week and played a few plays. If they decide not to keep Case, he's a guy that I could probably see the Jets going after. He pretty much proved himself that he could play and he could handle big pressure. So those are the only two free agents I see. But you guys know Baker Mayfield is a guy I've been hyping up all season long. I just hope Jets actually see it that way as well and do whatever they can to get that chance, because I don't think he's going to fall very far anymore. Not to say that the word is just now getting out, because I'm pretty sure that scouts around knew that Baker is a very, very good quarterback, very good competitor. The knock on him was at one point in time was his height, then it was his arm strength. Now it's basically his mentality off the field, and that's been a little knock on him as his whole career. But he's not a guy that's out there anymore, running around the streets causing all kinds of chaos, like Johnny Manziel was. Everybody was trying to portray him like the second coming of Johnny Manziel. He's not that guy. He's made his mistakes. He saw his mistakes that he made. He's corrected them on the field. Honestly, if you give a finger to a competitor, I don't care. that's just me. If you want to tell a competitor when you're on the field with, man, kiss my ass, it is what it is. I'll take that as a QB. And if he's winning games, I'll definitely take that. If he's that much of a competitor and can help you win the game, I don't care about that stuff.
All right, well said, Rob. At this time, we got 5 minutes left, so we're going to open it up for some questions. We'll go rapid fire here and try to get through as many of them as possible. First up, we've got Mark Polillo. Do you think ASJ needs more targets, and was it a good idea to release Jeremy Curley?
Definitely think ASJ needs more targets. We've been talking about that all year. He's a guy that, basically can rule the middle of the field, and he should be seeing more targets. Really don't know what happened as far as the reason why his targets went down gradually as the season was going on. Because, when he first came back, he was a big part of the offense.
Because they don't want to pay him.
I really don't know the story, the reason why Jeremy Curley was released. That was just a weird thing when I saw that earlier today. I really thought he was another guy that was helping the receiving core out, but they must want to continue to play the young guys. So that's the only reason I could think of.
Keep the numbers down. His numbers are high. The higher the paycheck, because I believe they're going to sign him. And as much as I hate to think like that, you probably know that better than anybody, Rob. So that wouldn't surprise me if they're not throwing him the ball as much, because he was having a career year. And so that wouldn't surprise me one bit if that was the case.
I could see that being part of it, Ed, but I think everybody around the league knows, when you have a tight end like that and they saw what he was doing early in the season, it wouldn't matter, nowadays if, they forcefully told the quarterback not to throw him the ball, 5 times a game. Only throw it to him 3 times. Everybody else around the league can see that he's a force, and other scouts, other teams will know that, and they'll pay him correctly because they know if they brought him into their team, they would use him correctly. So, and he's worth that. So that'd be kind of silly if the Jets actually thought that, but this is football, this is a business, and I can't put it past any team.
All right, and the last question before we start to wrap it up. The players obviously play hard for Bowles, but more important is the staff around him. Kevin Green, Morton, Bates. He's learning, but surrounded himself with a quality staff. You guys agree?
I agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They should keep him. They shouldn't get rid of him. Don't listen to these idiots, these Jeff fans that are just constantly wanting to turn over. 3 years, turn it over. 3 years, turn it over. 3 years, turn it over. 2 years, turn it over. They were turning it over last year. 2 years, they were turning it over. It's unbelievable. I mean, what happens to stay in the course? Stay the course. Stay the course.
Me personally,
unbelievable.
Me personally, I think Bowles deserves at least 5 years under his belt to see what he can do. We saw what he could do that first year. Didn't quite get the team over the hump in that last game. One of those Buffalo games would have put the team in the playoffs, but with a stopgap quarterback like Fitz under his helm, Fitz turned back into Fitz's second year. We see what's happening in his third year. the guys are playing hard for him. The players like him. He makes the decision that he needs to make and moves forward. That's all you can look forward to. Not every great head coach started out their career as a great head coach, And like Ed said, the constant turnover is it's defeating the purpose of trying to get a consistent team on the field, because if you're changing regimes every few years, the players are actually changing. And the players got to get used to a new coach. So if the guys who want to play hard for the coach that they actually have, let them ride it out for at least 5 years. It takes at least 5 years to actually get the coach, inclined to what the team is actually going to be and how he's going to coach under this regime. So, 2 years in, coach is not being able to prove himself. 3 years in, still not. I'm with Ed, man. Just let him play it out and see where it goes. If he can actually, get the guys playing hard every week, like this year, seems to have played out. Next year, I don't see why it wouldn't be the same. The following year, I don't see why it wouldn't be the same, because most of the guys that are on the team, most of them are still going to be here. So those guys are still going to be playing hard. Of course, there's going to be new pieces, but those guys are buying into the program just as well.
1 year extension. Give them a 1 year extension, and that's good enough. Give them a 1 year extension. And
All right, well said, guys. That's going to do it for us. Another awesome show. Thank you to everybody that tuned in and submitted questions, and apologies to those that we couldn't get to. Pretty sure we're going to be here Thursday night talking Jets Chargers, but just in case, we want to wish everybody a very safe and happy holidays. Go Jets.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.